I want to share a handful of things that I've learned along the way. And I've distilled these learnings into a short presentation I call Things I Wish I'd Known Before I Became an Entrepreneur. Basically meaning these are things that are not on the label, people. Like we were talking about before, we all do this because we're excited and we expect great things. And we do this because we think it's going to be easy. And it turns out it's not easy. So let me share very quickly what these things are, and I'd love to also take additional ones that you all have learned that I don't have on my list. So things I wish I knew before becoming an entrepreneur. The first one is related to the idea of building entrepreneurial capacity. It's that the governor effect is real. So what is a governor? A governor is something that goes on an engine, sometimes it goes on a car engine to like dampen it down, to reduce the amount of energy that the engine will get. So you put it on a car to make sure a car doesn't go too fast. And that relates exactly to our experiences as entrepreneurs. If we have a governor in our life, if we have something that's kinking our hose, so to speak, we don't have the right amount of energy, or for that matter, if we're carrying around too much stuff from our past, or too much stuff in our heads, or too much stuff from society that is slowing us down, that's all going to impact our ability to get stuff done, to excel as entrepreneurs, to build the businesses of our dreams. And so having a governor is purposely slowing us down. Another way to think about this is it's like having your foot on the accelerator and the brake at the same time and wondering why the car is behaving so badly. And when I started to think about this governor effect, that's when I really understood the words behind and the concept behind building entrepreneurial capacity. The capacity that we have for ourselves is capacity to be creative, capacity to be innovative, abundant, to attract capital, people, customers to what we're doing, to rally people to our side. We can do that when our capacity is high. We can do that when we don't have a governor that's like purposely slowing us down or adding friction to our lives. And I've seen this happen for me. If I get too stressed out, if I get too stuck in my head, if I have some kind of continuous loop that's just going over and over and over, all that is slowing me down and making me less effective. It's kind of like I'm walking around with a very heavy backpack on, or I'm carrying something very, very heavy. That's what I mean when I talk about the governor effect. And it's not a super sexy term, governor, like a lot of people don't understand it. The point being, there's a lot of stuff, if you look at your life, if you inventory what's going on in your head, what's going on in your energy, there's a lot of stuff you can probably leave behind. There's a lot of stuff that you don't need anymore. You needed it 10 years ago. You needed it 20 years ago. You needed it when you were a kid. You don't need it anymore. These things are simply slowing us down. The more that I have investigated that, the more that I have really had the courage to break open some of these mental models to say what's going on in here, the more I realize the only thing holding me back is myself. And that's really what I mean when I talk about the governor effect. The second one I want to mention is that the inner game we're all playing, the inner game of entrepreneurship, is an infinite game. There's a book, Finite Games and Infinite Games by James Carse, where he talks about the difference between these two. I think conceptually we all get it. But the inner game of constantly working on ourselves, improving how we show up, improving who we are in the world, making sure we have good energy, good vibes, that we're present, that's all part of the inner game. And there's no finish line. There's no medal at the end of this particular race. There's nothing to sit there and say, hey, we're done. We got there. We achieved it. Instead, we have to constantly be working on these things, constantly be working on the inner game. And I've talked to a lot of people for prepping for this event. I talked to a lot of people on the Conscious Entrepreneur podcast. And one of the amazing things is The farther along you get in your career, the farther along you get in your journey, the more work you have to do on yourself. It doesn't get easier. It gets harder. And it gets more important, because then we really start to understand that the answers are not outside of us, the answers are inside of us. And we here in this community, in this tribe, in this room, we get that. That's why we're all here together. And understanding this is something we're going to be doing and doing and doing for the rest of our lives is really important. And furthermore, if you look at, for example, the work of Dr. Sri Kumar Rao, who many of you know because he was here last year and he was also at year one, or the work of Dr. Gay Hendricks, who we did that session with in November, they both say that the whole purpose of being an entrepreneur, the whole purpose of building a business is spiritual growth. The company is my vehicle for spiritual growth. Doesn't always feel like I'm going up and to the right. Sometimes it feels like I'm going down, or sometimes I feel like I'm getting my head bashed in. But all of this is for my growth. And understanding that this is something that's an unfolding process is really important. So I used to think, okay, great, I'll just go do all this and then check, I'll be done with mindfulness, and then I can go move on to something else. That's not how that worked. Or, hey, once I get there, then I'm ready. No, it's more like, okay, we got here, we're in a video game on a perpetual loop, and we just unlocked a level, and then we unlock the next level, and then we unlock the level after that, and we're still playing the game. And that, by the way, is the joy of an infinite game. We're playing because we want to play the game. Point number 3. I hate to break this to you, but all of those pitch decks that say exit strategy, you know all these pitch decks. We've all seen many of them. It starts with the problem and the market and the team and so on, and you get to the last one that says exit strategy. My exit strategy is I'm going to sell this company to Google for $1 billion in 5 years. My exit strategy is I'm going to sell to Amazon for $500 million in 5 years. I got bad news, everybody. No one is coming to the rescue. And this is true for your business, and it's also true for you. So we can't assume, hey, there's somebody out there who's going to show up and solve my problems. If I only hire this new person, if I only get such and such going on, if I want to do this, then all my problems are going to go away. Once I sell my company, once I raise money, once this happens, once that happens, then all my problems are solved. No. And the trick here is what Diana Chapman and Jim Dethmer in the book, The 15 Commitments of Conscious Leadership, call taking 100% responsibility for your life. And the trick here is to recognize that I am the creator of all of my experience. I own the entirety of it, the good, the bad, and the ugly. I can't lay it on anybody else. I can only say, I own this, I am responsible for this. No one's coming to the rescue. I used to always think, oh, once I get the business to a certain size, then I'm going to just be fielding calls nonstop with people saying, I see how awesome your thing is. Can I buy it for lots of money? And my phone is still cold in that regard. I'm not getting those calls. However, I can turn around and I can say, I have created this life. I am the creator of this life and everything around it. I am the only person who's responsible for how I'm feeling, what I'm thinking, what I'm doing, and therefore ask myself the question, what is the best thing I can do now? So that's what I mean when I talk about no one's coming to the rescue. I also used to always think that I was alone, meaning everybody else had all their shit figured out and I was the only one who had no idea what it was doing. And for example, when I went through Techstars, the Techstars program years ago, I would come home and, Laura would be like, what's wrong with you? Why are you so miserable? Why are you making these silly faces and like sitting there looking so grumpy? And it was because I was comparing myself to everybody else in the room. Oh, this person raised more money. Oh, this person's got his act together. Oh, this guy's better at pitching than I am. Oh, this person, whatever it is. And I was spending all my time thinking, wow, everybody else has got all this just nailed. They got this life stuff nailed, and I'm the outlier here. Once I became really involved in the mentor programs at Techstars, I started to realize everybody else feels the same way too. And everybody else wants an avenue or a vehicle for us to be able to talk about this stuff. And they want to be able to share, and they want to be seen, and they want to be heard, and they want to be helped, and they want to be hugged, like we talked about yesterday on the hike. And the power here for us in understanding that we are not alone is coming together in a group like this. For us to be together, to witness one another, to support one another, and to get through this together. So these are things that really struck me as like super important that I wish I had known a long time ago when I started out and I thought, I'm just going to do this real quickly, and then it's going to be awesome, and then someone's going to buy it, and then everything's going to be great, and I can do this all on my own. None of those things turned out to be true, and it's only with hindsight and a lot of gray hair and a lot of battle scars that I've been able to start to figure this out. And they don't teach this in school, and they don't teach this at any other startup program. They don't teach this other places. And so this is stuff that I particularly have seen that I wish I had known a long, long time ago.